In a courtroom showdown that no one saw coming, Kirk Frost just dropped a bombshell that has the entire world talking, and it's far more explosive than anyone could have imagined. What if we told you that his legal victory has uncovered a shocking truth, one that could not only change the public's perception of Jasmine, but also leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about Kirk Frost himself? Trust us when we say, the twist at the end of this story will leave you absolutely speechless. Welcome back to the channel, where we break down the drama that everyone is talking about. If you're a fan of shocking revelations, courtroom battles, and jaw-dropping twists, you're in for a real treat today. The ongoing tension between Kirk Frost and Jasmine has been simmering for a while now, but what happened in court? Why did this case send shockwaves through fans and leave them questioning everything they thought they knew? In today's video, we're diving into the latest bombshell dropped by Kirk Frost, an unexpected truth that not only flipped the script on this high-profile legal battle, but also crushed Jasmine in a way no one ever saw coming. We'll go over the case's facts, the dramatic court moments, and the turn of events that might completely alter your perspective on the matter. We have all the juicy facts you won't find anywhere else, so be sure to stay until the absolute end. Take out your popcorn. This will be an exciting journey. We start by exploring the continuing legal dispute between Kirk Frost and Jasmine. With accusations and charges coming from both sides, this feud has been simmering for months. These two have had a tumultuous relationship for years. But something changed at this crucial juncture. Kirk Frost was ready. The details of the court case will be thoroughly examined in this part. We'll look at Jasmine's charges, her allegations against Kirk, and the beginning of this court dispute. We'll go over the events that led up to the courtroom confrontation, including Kirk's early responses and the pressure he was under from the public and media. Jasmine made harsh charges. She charged Kirk of disregarding his duties and failing to provide financial support for their child. She portrayed him in the public eye as a parent who was not involved in their child's life. Jasmine even asserted that Kirk was abusing his power to sway the legal system and had been willfully evading court orders. However, this is when things take a surprising turn. Kirk wasn't caught off guard by these accusations. His defense was nothing short of astonishing, and he had evidence to support his assertions. As Kirk's legal team gave their version of events, the courtroom was tense. However, which piece of evidence did Kirk employ to completely turn the tide in his favor? How could Jasmine have been so shocked by this turn of events? Next, let's find out. Everyone in the courtroom was excited to watch this legal drama play out as the tension increased. Jasmine's remarks were cutting and her accusations were powerful. In addition to being a careless father, she said Kirk was also reckless with money. She saw this as an opportunity to reveal Kirk's actual nature to the world and to fight for justice. Kirk Frost, however, was ready. He revealed a number of records and documents as the case progressed, which fundamentally altered the balance of power. Everything Jasmine had asserted was refuted by meticulously compiled proof from his legal team. This was no longer only a he said, she said scenario. The realities were stark and unyielding. Kirk produced bank records attesting to his regular payments of child support and other bills. He produced invoices for school fees, medical bills, and other costs that he had been obligingly covering for their child. Kirk has obviously been emotionally and financially invested in his child's life. A private tape, however, was what truly startled the court. It turned out to be a conversation between Jasmine and one of her pals that was secretly recorded. Jasmine acknowledged on the tape that her own spending patterns, rather than Kirk's lack of assistance, were the main cause of her financial difficulties. She talked about how her lifestyle choices were making it difficult for her to manage her money effectively, and she even called some of the claims she made in public exaggerated for the sake of her story. The courtroom was rocked by this conversation. As Jasmine's credibility started to erode, the room fell silent. How could she reject such compelling evidence? The tape was utilized by Kirk's legal team to demonstrate that Jasmine had lied and that her charges were motivated more by her own desires than by the facts. There was a sense of expectation throughout the courtroom. Jasmine's case appeared to be virtually over after weeks of heated debates. Kirk Frost, however, was not finished yet. Behind the scenes, his legal team had been putting in endless effort to prepare for a final, shocking disclosure that would fundamentally alter the outcome of the trial. Kirk's lawyer, a skilled and astute litigator, appeared with a sealed envelope just as it appeared like Jasmine might win the case. As the envelope was opened, Silence descended over the room. Kirk's lawyer approached the judge and presented the documents. As the judge went over the papers, everyone's eyes were on them. What might it be? Then Kirk's lawyer faced the courtroom and said something nobody could have foreseen. We have proof, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, that Jasmine has been getting money from somewhere else throughout this whole incident, a source that could change her whole story. Everyone in the courtroom gasped as they looked at Jasmine, who sat there astonished and temporarily unable to speak. Kirk's attorney was permitted to proceed by the judge. Jasmine had been getting money from an unnamed donor throughout the legal struggle, according to text messages, bank transactions, and statements from a third-party witness that Kirk's team made public. Child support was no longer the only issue here. Jasmine seemed to have been playing a much more important game. Despite her claims of poverty, the paperwork showed that she was financially secure. Even more astonishingly, it was discovered that the anonymous donor had been using false identities and cover stories to transfer funds into her accounts for legal bills. The court was left in utter shock. How could Jasmine have kept such a crucial detail a secret? Why would she have made up the tale of her financial difficulties when she had been receiving aid covertly? The donor's identity was the most startling aspect. It turned out to be a member of her inner circle who had been providing her with financial support behind closed doors and was also close to her family. This discovery completely exposed Jasmine's meticulously crafted story. She had portrayed herself as someone who needed justice and was a victim. However, the reality was different. The jury was now forced to weigh the likelihood that Jasmine had been tampering with the proceedings from the start. Something unbelievable occurred just when it appeared that Jasmine was losing her case. Jasmine's lawyer asked for the floor as the courtroom fell silent. Despite the recent bombshell, she rose to her feet with a composed expression that showed no signs of terror. "Your Honor," said Jasmine's lawyer, "we would like to present new evidence that calls into question the legitimacy of the documents introduced by Mr. Frost's legal team." Once more, the room became tense. What might be in store for Jasmine following such a heartbreaking disclosure? The attorney then introduced a surprise witness that nobody had expected. It was none other than one of Kirk Frost's closest business partners, who had been silently watching the case unfold but had not yet been asked to testify. This witness was ready to drop a piece of information that would rock the courtroom to its foundation. "Your Honor," the witness said, her voice faltering, "Mr. Frost's legal team filed fake documents. The SMS messages and bank statements are not authentic. They were actually edited to give the impression that Miss Jasmine was getting money under false pretenses. And I can demonstrate this." There were gasps throughout the courtroom. How is this possible? The ramifications were astounding. If Kirk's team's evidence proved phony, it meant that the entire case had been founded on untrue allegations. The storyline didn't stop there, though. The witness went on to make an even more astounding assertion. Someone inside Mr. changed the original text and transactions. Frost's own group. This individual has been working behind the scenes to promote the idea that Jasmine is lying about her financial circumstances in order to undermine her reputation. The room was thrown into disarray by the revelation alone. Who could have planned such a daring and perilous scheme? Why would someone on Kirk's side take such drastic measures to damage Jasmine's standing? Was this the result of a deceived confidant, a dissatisfied employee, or something darker? Screenshots of the original text were provided by the witness, demonstrating the various ways in which Jasmine's interactions with her purported financial sponsor had been twisted. These were the identical documents that had first been used to demonstrate Jasmine's covert funding. Now, however, the truth was revealed. Even the most seasoned legal minds had been duped at first by these doctored documents, which had been changed so precisely. There was a spooky silence in the courtroom, just when it appeared that Jasmine was winning. A phone call cut short the proceedings as Jasmine's lawyer was ready to introduce the new evidence. With an uncommon and solemn expression on his face, the judge paused and motioned for a short break. What might this unexpected disruption signify? Was it something new? Or even Kirk's team's last-ditch effort to postpone the inevitable? The anticipation in the courtroom was palpable, but the judge's face revealed nothing. The courtroom was summoned back into session as the recess came to a close. Something had changed in the energy. Nobody knew what was going to happen next. Upon his return, the judge spoke solemnly to the room. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, "it appears that we have recently learned something new, knowledge that completely alters the trajectory of this case." Jasmine was devastated. To find the truth, she had put up a fierce fight. However, What fresh information could possibly overshadow the already revealed information? Was Kirk's camp telling another lie, or something darker still? It was an intolerable moment. The judge cleared his throat immediately. We recently got confirmation from an unnamed source who is very involved in this issue and has disclosed who the real author of the fake documents is. The room was tense. The judge had everyone's attention. Who was this individual? How had they obtained such important information? Was it possible that a member of Kirk's team had been betraying their own team by playing both sides? The judge hesitated before revealing the last shocking revelation. It became out that Kirk Frost's own brother was the one who changed the documents. The courtroom erupted in horror at the discovery. A member of Kirk Frost's own family had fabricated evidence to undermine Jasmine's case. This had evolved beyond a tumultuous divorce. A case of betrayal within the family occurred. Kirk's attempt to permanently get rid of Jasmine had been thwarted by the very lineage he trusted the most. The courtroom was filled with thunderous muttering. Incredulously, people started whispering to one another. How did this occur? Why would Kirk's brother, who ought to have supported him, be so cruelly unfaithful to him? Was all of this a part of a larger scheme to keep Jasmine from receiving a fair share of Kirk's wealth? The twist, however, didn't end there. It became evident that Kirk's brother was not acting alone as the court read through the specifics of this new evidence. An even more powerful third party had been involved, with the resources to influence the case from behind the scenes. Could the entire incident have been orchestrated by this person? The questions started to mount. Who else might have been involved if Kirk's brother had been working with someone else? Was it a member of Kirk's inner circle, a close business associate, or maybe someone with a personal interest in ruining Jasmine's case? The disclosure of the falsified documents was just the beginning. The greatest surprise, however, was still to come. In the most dramatic way possible, what Kirk's brother and this enigmatic third party had been concealing and what they didn't want the public to know was about to be revealed. You won't believe what this puzzle's last piece showed.